Hey Jason here from Simply Swider. If your GE ice maker suddenly stopped working and you're staring at an empty ice bin wondering what went wrong, you're in the right place. In the next 15 minutes, I'll walk you through the 5 most common causes, and I'll bet we can get your ice maker running again without spending hundreds on a repair call. Good news is, most of these problems aren't actually the ice maker itself going bad. Before we get started, if you run into any questions, jump into our Facebook group, links in the description. We've got thousands of people helping each other fix their appliances, and I pop in there daily to help out. So, the number one issue I see, and this is probably 35% of the calls I get, is a frozen water line. Now, here's what happens. On these GE side by side models, especially, there's a design weakness where the water line runs through the freezer door insulation, and over time, that insulation breaks down, or there just isn't enough of it. Water moves slow through that thin plastic tubing and boom, it freezes solid. I had this customer last month who swore her ice maker was dead. Turned out the line was frozen right in the door hinge area. Here's your quick 30-second test. First, locate the water line coupling at your bottom door hinge. It looks like a small plastic connector. Carefully disconnect it and place a cup underneath. Now press your water dispenser button. If water flows out at the hinge connection but your dispenser stays dry, bingo, you've got a frozen line inside the door. You'll also see this if your water dispenser works on and off, or if there's visible ice buildup at that fill tube outlet in the back of the freezer. Don't just thaw it with a hairdryer and call it good. If it keeps happening, you need a heater kit retrofit. That's about 40 to 80 bucks and prevents it from freezing again. Next up is the water inlet valve. This little guy controls all the water flow into your fridge. About 25% of ice maker problems trace back to this valve. Here's what's actually happening. It's an electromechanical solenoid that opens and closes to let water through. Over time, mineral deposits from hard water clog up the screen or jam that plunger mechanism. Sometimes the electrical coil just burns out after years of use. You'll know it's the valve when you hear that humming sound when the ice maker calls for water, but nothing actually flows. The ice maker mold stays bone dry and your water dispenser pressure drops way down. Here's the electrical test. But first, unplug your refrigerator for safety. Using a multimeter set to ohms, test the continuity on the solenoid coils. You should see a reading between 200 and 1500 ohms, depending on your specific model. If you get an infinite reading or no reading at all, that coil is burned out and needs replacement. Don't try to clean these valves. I've seen too many people flood their kitchens that way. Just replace it. You're looking at about 50 to 100 bucks for the part. Now, about 20% of the time, it actually is the ice maker assembly itself that's failed. This is the mechanical motor, gears, mold heater, or the internal control board. These plastic gears wear out over time, or that mold heater burns out, or the internal thermostat that senses 15 degrees Fahrenheit stops working. Here's the built-in diagnostic test. On most GE electronic models, turn the ice maker switch off and wait 15 seconds. Turn it back on, then quickly press the paddle or feeler arm 3 times within 15 seconds. This forces a diagnostic cycle. You should hear the motor start and see the rake arms begin to move within 10 minutes. If nothing happens, or if you hear grinding noises, the assembly has failed. If you've got power, that green light's on, but it never cycles, or if those rake arms are stuck in ice, or you see peeling Teflon coating in the mold, the assembly's done. Don't try to rebuild these things. By the time you buy individual components, you're better off just replacing the whole unit. That's going to run you about 150 to 250 bucks, but it's way cheaper than calling someone like me out for a service call. Here's something that trips up a lot of people. About 15% of ice maker problems are just a clogged water filter. These inlet valves need at least 20 psi to work properly, and when that filter gets saturated with sediment, it restricts flow below that threshold. I remember this guy who called me panicking because his ice maker stopped working right after he got back from vacation. Turns out he hadn't changed his filter in over a year. Here's the dead giveaway. Your water dispenser flow is way slower than normal, and your ice cubes are hollow or really small. Quick test. Remove that filter and install the bypass plug. If water flow improves dramatically, there's your answer. Replace the filter every 6 months, people. Don't wait for it to turn colors or start tasting funny. That's a $40 to $60 fix that can save you hundreds in unnecessary repairs. This one only accounts for about 5% of cases, but it's important because people always miss it. Your ice maker has an internal thermostat that requires the freezer to be at 15 degrees Fahrenheit or colder to start a harvest cycle. If your freezer's running at 16 degrees Fahrenheit or warmer, that ice maker's just going to sit there doing nothing. Usually happens when those condenser coils get dirty or there's frost buildup on the evaporator coils from a defrost system failure. Sometimes someone just accidentally bumped the temperature dial warmer. Stick a thermometer right in that ice bin and check it. If you're seeing soft ice cream in the freezer or the ice maker's completely silent, temperature's probably your issue. Clean those condenser coils first. They're usually on the back or underneath the fridge. If that doesn't fix it, you might be looking at sealed system problems, and that's when you call someone like me. The water inlet valve, this is that solenoid that controls water flow into the fridge. You're looking at somewhere between 50 and $100 for the part. Now here's what actually fails. Those solenoid coils burn out or mineral deposits jam up the mechanism. When it goes bad, you'll hear that humming sound but get no water flow. Don't try to rebuild these, just replace the whole valve. It's a pretty straightforward job if you can move your fridge to access the back panel. You'll need basic hand tools and about an hour. Way cheaper than a service call that's going to run you $300 to $400. For the complete ice maker assembly, you're looking at about $150 to $250 depending on your model. This includes the motor, gears, mold heater, and control electronics all in one unit. Here's the thing. When these electronic assemblies fail, you don't repair them, you replace them. Individual components like motors or heaters often cost almost as much as the complete assembly, and they're harder to find. Installation's pretty simple, usually just 2 or 3 mounting screws and a wire harness plug. If your fridge is less than 5 years old and the repair's under $400, it's definitely worth fixing. Water filters are the cheapest fix at about 40 to $60, and they're always DIY friendly. Here's what most people don't realize. A clogged filter doesn't just affect water taste, it can kill your ice maker completely. When flow drops below 20 psi, that inlet valve can't operate properly. I've seen people replace $200 inlet valves when all they needed was a $50 filter. Change these every 6 months, not when they start tasting funny. By then, you've already damaged other components. All right, if you're dealing with faulty parts, let's talk about what you're looking at cost-wise and what's actually worth fixing versus replacing. Here's the thing about GE ice maker repairs. The labor usually costs way more than the parts. If you can handle basic tools and follow instructions, you can save yourself several $100s on most of these fixes. Now, before we wrap up, you can see right there on your screen the most common GE models that experience these ice maker problems. Maybe you'll spot your own model there. The side-by-side GSH and GSS series are notorious for that frozen water line issue I talked about. Those French door GFE and PFE models often have problems with the door-mounted ice makers, usually fan failures or air seal leaks. And if you've got one of those countertop opal nugget ice makers, mineral buildup and descaling issues are super common. Each model family has its own quirks, but the diagnostic approach stays the same. And that's your complete GE ice maker diagnosis. Remember the 4-layer approach? Water supply feeds the system, inlet valve controls the flow, ice maker assembly does the work, and temperature creates the right environment. Since 75% of failures happen in the water supply chain, not the ice maker itself, always start there first. You'll save both time and money. Start with the simple stuff. Check your filter, verify your freezer temperature, look for frozen lines. Those fixes cost almost nothing compared to replacing parts you don't actually need. This pattern isn't just GE specific either. Samsung, LG, Whirlpool all use similar systems with the same failure points. Learn to diagnose the water supply chain, and you can fix ice makers across brands. If you guys know someone who's having appliance troubles, please send them the link to this video or a link to my channel, where I have tons of other videos showing how to fix pretty common issues with appliances, sometimes for free or as little cost as possible. It sure beats having a repairman come out and spending several hundred for them to fix it when it could be something so simple. If this helped you get your ice maker working again, hit that like button and drop a comment below. Let me know which fix worked for you. Really helps other people with the same problem. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We'll get this out to more folks who need to save some time and money. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.